A researcher can map a star's lifespan or decode a genome, but place them before 30 teenagers, and that knowledge transmission often shatters. We operate under a pervasive assumption that possessing deep, world-class subject matter knowledge automatically grants a person the ability to teach it. The data shows this is false. Novices frequently mistake education for the linear transfer of rote facts. They assume that if they state a scientific rule clearly, a student will absorb it intact. But rote memorization is only a fraction of science. True comprehension in fields like physics or ecology requires technical application paired with deep scientific contemplation. When brilliant experts fail in the classroom, it is rarely due to a lack of effort. It happens because they are missing a hidden, highly specialized cognitive architecture required to translate their expertise. Developing a teacher's expertise depends on a rigorous cognitive science, moving beyond the limitations of unexamined intuition. That architecture is Pedagogical Content Knowledge, or PCK, the integration of subject expertise with how people learn. It acts as a cognitive engine, transforming raw, incomprehensible subject matter into accessible learning pathways that a novice can navigate. New teachers enter the classroom lacking this structure. Instead, they rely on hazy memories of how they themselves were taught, a strategy that collapses immediately when exposed to a complex classroom environment. Without PCK, a teacher is blind to the friction of learning. They cannot anticipate student misconceptions, they miss hidden barriers, and they struggle to manage the inherent messiness of live instruction. Simply spending time in a classroom does not fix this. 20 years of teaching without deliberate reflection is often just 1 year of bad teaching repeated 20 times. Unless a teacher explicitly develops their pedagogical content knowledge, they remain a subject matter expert speaking into a void. This diagram shows the refined consensus model. The outermost layer, collective PCK, represents formal academic knowledge. Moving inward, personal PCK is built through classroom experience. At the center is enacted PCK, the real-time execution of teaching, driven by active pedagogical reasoning. The central challenge for any teacher education program is finding a reliable method to download that broad collective theory directly into an individual's enacted real-time reasoning. This flowchart illustrates topic-specific PCK. To teach successfully, teachers filter content through variables, learner prior knowledge, curricular saliency, recognizing what is difficult to teach, and selecting accurate representations. Networking these produces a conceptual teaching strategy. Teaching a specific concept is an equation. It requires balancing these cognitive variables simultaneously to produce comprehension. Here is the operational problem. A novice teacher simply does not possess the historical data required to accurately estimate these variables. They have to guess. But a 2025 study by COSA introduces a method to bypass decades of trial and error. The solution relies on guided video reflection to artificially accelerate the development of TSPCK. The researchers asked pre-service biology teachers to plan a lesson on population ecology. Then they had the novices watch video recordings of a veteran teacher executing their own enacted PCK on the exact same topic. The goal was to train professional noticing. By watching the video, the novices stopped looking at generic classroom behaviors and started identifying the invisible cognitive variables the veteran was manipulating. As the novices collaborated and reflected on the footage, their prior assumptions began to fracture. They realized that their initial lesson plans were missing the structural logic required to actually facilitate learning. Observing a master teacher is useless if you only watch physical actions. You have to reverse engineer their underlying pedagogical reasoning. This chart visualizes the study's results. By comparing the novices' PCK scores before and after the video intervention, we see a measurable leap across all components. Notice the specific jump in learner prior knowledge, moving from basic awareness to identifying disruptive misconceptions. For example, one novice only recognized the common student misconception of infinite population growth after dissecting the specific questioning technique the veteran used in the video. The novices also adapted the veteran's use of specific representations. Seeing a predator-prey graph used successfully in the video gave them the exact tool they needed to solve their own instructional bottlenecks. This diagram shows the 4 interacting components of TSPCK. Through observation, the novices learned how these variables network together. By integrating multiple components simultaneously, their ultimate metric of success, their conceptual teaching strategy score, rose significantly in their second lesson plan. These results demonstrate that pedagogical intuition functions as a measurable framework, accessible through systematic training. The transition from a struggling novice to a highly effective expert is driven exclusively by one mechanism: structured critical reflection. One of the primary engines for this is the data process. Data stands for description, analysis, theorizing, and action. The data process forces a teacher to strip away their emotional biases after a lesson. It requires them to isolate the root cause of a classroom failure and explicitly theorize an alternative variable to test next time. Relying on theoretical frameworks without engaging in this rigorous reflection leads to rigid thinking and unthinking habitual interventions. Reflective practice closes the loop. It tests academic theory against classroom reality, erasing the divide between what is taught in a university and what actually works with a student. Without a strict reflective protocol, teachers are doomed to react blindly to the complexities of their environment, repeating the same errors year after year. The stakes of this process extend far beyond a single classroom. We are currently facing global social, moral, and technological crises that depend entirely on advanced science education for their solutions. Navigating these challenges demands a generation capable of original scientific contemplation. Simply repeating established facts provides no path forward. We can only produce those original thinkers if we first re-engineer the cognitive architecture of the teachers instructing them. Treating pedagogy as a rigorous empirical science provides the technical foundation for accurately passing complex knowledge from one generation to the next.